What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 240 of Opinions May Vary. I'm your host, JR. I have my for a second, I was waiting for you to be like, and I'm Alex. It's a fun day. Okay. I have my co-host with me, Alex.
Hi.
I was like, Alex, you missed your mark.
You never hit it.
Oh, man. We like to have fun here. Joining us this week, all the way out in the sunny, beautiful California, is our best friend, Will.
Hello.
Will, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
It wouldn't be October unless Will comes on the show.
I'm so pleased and honored to have this sort of I don't know what to call it, but bestowed on me to have the Halloween episode.
It's not spoopy until Will comes on the show, and we're talking about, like, well, I'm sure we'll pepper some spookiness in there. Although the main thing that we're talking, and we've held off a little bit. Mm. The phenomenon it's still there. Like, there are still some people that I'm seeing, they're like, yo, I just got into this thing. Yeah. And I'm like, really? It's been out for like 2 months.
You're way behind.
Yeah, get with it. But I remember when it first came out, Will hit us up, and he's like, hey, I call dibs on the Stranger Things recap, if you will, which we haven't really been recapping much, mostly because of my lack of seeing things, or just because we've had so many interesting people on. Mm-hmm. We haven't had time. But Stranger Things is just one of those things that warrants it.
What was weird is that I felt it appeared out of nowhere.
Yep.
Yes.
Like, I didn't know it was coming. I didn't hear anything about it. Other people were just already watching it, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And then, like, people finish it, and they're like, they don't want to talk about it and spoil it, but they're freaking about how good it is. And I'm like, all right, fine. All right, okay, let's see. Let's take a look, see if this is anything where... Oh, wow.
Yeah, I saw a photo of it. There was like a promo photo of something, and I was like, what is this? And then as soon as I saw that photo, I was already behind with everyone else in the world. And it had been out for a few days, I think, or maybe even a full week. And my entire internet was just blown up with how great this thing was. And I immediately become weary of that because when it's on the internet and everyone loves it, it seems to be one of those things that, like, well, if you don't love it, then you're going to be alienated by everyone you know. And everyone will think you're stupid, and you just go along with it like it's recess.
You just didn't get it, man.
Yeah, and I was like, all right, we'll see. We'll see what actually... I'll give it a shot. I'm not so sure. And then, yeah, I watched it, and I didn't stop. and then I think I even went on the internet and was like, okay, I hate agreeing with you, internet, but I agree entirely.
I think I did at least 5 episodes in one night, and I was up until 3 a.m. to finish it.
Yeah, I watched almost all of it. I think I'd gotten like at least halfway through, and then Hannah came home, and she doesn't do spooky stuff. She doesn't do scary shows and scary movies and things. And she, like, hinted at the thought that she might want to try watching it someday. And I was like, episode 1 again, right now. Let's do it. and we watched episode 1 again that night. So I watched the first episode twice in one day. And I was totally okay with it. And I hadn't even finished the rest. I was like, no, let's go back. If you think you're going to be onto it, then we're just going to do it. I'm not going to miss this window.
Just a word to the wise. If you haven't seen Stranger Things, if you're planning on seeing it, if you don't want to hear any spoilers, just go ahead and click that pause button.
Yes.
Revisit after you've watched Stranger Things, and then you can join in you can listen in on the discussion.
No, they
can even join in if you want.
We can hear them. If they talk out loud in their car or on their bike or whatever, we'll hear them.
Maybe throw a comment up what you thought of Stranger Things. I have yet to hear judging from who I follow on Twitter and stuff, I've yet to see a negative review of Stranger Things. I haven't seen it. Stranger Things is okay, but I didn't really dig Stranger. It's always been holy shit, Stranger Things.
The one that I have seen was just pure troll. Because they were just trying to piss off the rest of the internet.
Yep.
Yeah.
This thing didn't completely impress me in every single facet, so I need to make sure that everyone knows that I disagree with them.
At first I thought I wasn't really going to care, because I was born in 1980. Don't really care for the 80s.
Yep.
A lot of people my age or age similar to mine around me, oh my God, they love the 80s. It was the best thing ever. And I'm like, no.
Similar to...
I'm a 90s kid. I like the 90s better.
Yeah.
Don't talk about the 80s. Didn't matter. I like the show.
You know what's funny? Like, if somebody said to me, like, oh, you love the 80s, I immediately think of the, like, VH1 or MTV or whoever did the We Love the 80s, and it was just
VH1,
things of tie-dye or bright colors and neon and gem and all that, and you're just like, nah, I'm okay. I don't need the scrunchy stuff and all those. and I hadn't really thought of
what was before that.
The 80s cinema, like all the movies that I loved when I was young. I didn't consider them 80s. Like, they didn't fit into the, like, stereotype of the 80s to me.
Yeah. They
were made in the 80s, but they were real life in the 80s. They weren't, like, you know, the fashion trends of the 80s necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I totally loved all the movies that it says. And, you know, I had seen somebody had called it a love letter to their childhood. and I was like, yes, it kind of is. It made me feel comfortable, and it made me feel like I was watching something that I'd watched when I was younger, and like I felt close to it. But it wasn't just like 80s horror. It was tons of 80s movies that were just produced then that weren't necessarily that. I mean, I got a huge Stand By Me vibe from it, which was produced in the 80s, but it takes place in the 50s or the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it still felt like that style of filmmaking that was happening at the time. So I was definitely into it just from that sense, that it connected to everything I loved about those movies, both in horror and regular cinema. You know,
there was a lot of things that also just seemed like accurately real, and was almost it's like you get to watch a time capsule, because you know, people that are much younger than us and like born like in 2000, if they watch it, and like, yeah, there's no cell phones back then. Your phone was attached to the wall, and like you can go out and ride your bicycle. You could be 10 years old and ride your bicycle at 10 at night, and like no one's, you're not gonna get kidnapped and freaked out, and you know your parents are gonna ground you forever. It's like, oh yeah, just ride your bike home. It's really dark, but you know, just you'll make it.
I immediately thought of the bike rides home from friends' houses. Like, there would be a group of us riding home from one person's house, and we'd all just eventually branch off, and whoever lived the farthest had that, like, 5 minutes alone where you're just like, I'm going to ride a little faster.
Yep. With me, though, like, even when I was a kid, by the time I was a kid, rather, it was, if I wasn't home by, like, sunset... I was like knee deep in mother
parental
shit.
doo-doo.
Yeah, in parental.
When the streetlights turn on.
Yeah, that was. And then if it got to like, if the sun was almost set, that was when my parents would be out hunting for me. And if they found me, man, was I in trouble. It was bad. So, like, to see these kids, you know, like, okay, it's like 10 p.m., we just finished playing D&D. You all run home now, you hear? You know, like, it's a completely foreign thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it just...
That was one thing I was really jealous of. Was that I admittedly got into D&D way too late in life.
Yeah.
And I just watched them. I was like, oh, man, how much cooler would I have... you know, played my character, you know, whatever, if I had done this when I was 11 years old.
Yeah.
How different would it be? What would my characters be like now, you know?
You know, I don't think they would change much.
No?
It's well, like having seen our groups and like seeing their groups. It's like cast fireball, no, cast protection, no, cast fireball. Shut up, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
The thing is, like, I turn into a total like judgmental piece of shit, and I'm like, he doesn't even have a DM screen. He just has like a shitty notebook. Get a dice tower.
Yeah, all the things they
didn't have. Are they all using like the same die? Like there's one between the four of them.
They don't even have a D10. Like, what edition were they playing?
First. I think that was advanced first, I think.
Were they even like managing their spell slots? You can't just cast. Was it even his turn? Anyways.
So we started on the era a little bit. And
I mean, it just comes like a lot of people were like, from what I could see on the internet, were like, I don't want to watch something that's really scary. I'm really into the scary. I don't like the scary things. And even then, like, there was a lot of suspense, but I think I may have actually like, jumped or have been like recoiled, and holy shit, that startled me twice. And like one of them was in the first like 5 minutes of the first episode. The rest of it was like it was a lot of suspense, and then, oh god, what's going to happen next? Because I need to know. And a lot of Winona Ryder crying. I mean, she was great in it. I thought she was awesome. I'm glad to see her like. It's like that resurgence.
It's like I always wonder when like actors realize they might have to play a parent.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're getting all these great 20-year-old roles, but you're going to age, and do you just stop acting, or
you're
like
going to steal stuff? And then you'll be in Mr. Deeds, and then no one will hear from you since. But I thought she was great. She played the role well. Like, because there were a couple times I'm like, oh my god, stop crying. But like, if your son's missing, and no one's listening to you,
and then really weird shit's happening.
Yep. It was crazy to see. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch like the first episode and the last episode to see the difference in the house.
Yeah.
Because like at first it's just a house.
Yeah.
And then it's
got a hole
like a war zone with paint on the walls and lights hung everywhere, and which is a really neat aesthetic, like the communicating with the lights, and it was just so
well
cool.
that took me straight back to more 80s movies with Close Encounters,
right,
using the lights to communicate, and I was just like, yes, she's gonna go make a mountain out of mashed potatoes next.
This means something.
Yeah. No, but the casting was phenomenal across the board. Like, everyone just fit that niche that they needed to be in, and then they also brought a lot to the performance. Because, like, oh, you're 1980s high school douchebag boyfriend. Okay, I get your character immediately just based on your hair and stupid smile.
Yeah.
And, like, he looked like every other character in those roles.
Yeah.
But even though it was the same thing and I knew exactly what to expect, I was okay with it because it had been done so well. It wasn't just like, oh, here we go. Because even the stuff that was really predictable to me was enjoyably predictable.
Well, even on, like, with the characters, one of my favorite things was how there's a lot of progression for a lot of them. So, like, the douchebag boyfriend, Steve, where he starts out and where he ends, I was like, yeah. I'm on board with this. You know, he's like, when he shows up at the theater and he's like, I just want to help, man. And I'm like, he's not a complete piece of shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, like, if you found a dude with like pictures of your girlfriend, like on his, wouldn't you react the same way?
You man up a bit.
Yeah. I would want to beat the shit out of him. You know, and it's like, and you know, like he let his emotions get the best of him, like in the alleyway when he was like mocking the kid's family and stuff. Like, I mean, Steve did show moments of being a dick, but like the last like 10 minutes of the show, I was like, I love Steve. Like when he's just screaming and like he has no idea what's going on, but then like he gets the bat and shit, and he's like super badass. I loved it. And like at the very end, again, we said spoilers. At the very end, when like he's still there, I'm like, I was really happy
because I felt that was good of them to keep them together.
They could have easily just went the expected route.
Right, that would have been too expected. And, like, are they really that good of a match?
Yeah. The awkward kid and like the... Yeah.
And the same thing goes for the sheriff guy.
So good.
Because
I loved him.
When you first meet him, like, he's a drunk. He's kind of a jerk. He doesn't really care. He's not really doing his job that well. I think he smokes inside. But then,
what the you can't do that.
But then, like, by the end, like, you know, he really has to get this kid back. You know, and he's once he comes to terms with what's going on, and, like, he becomes, you know, commando, like Arnold Schwarzenegger's, you know, he's so determined, you know, to be a good cop. It's like, yeah, he, like, had ended in a completely different place than where he began.
Yeah, and even though they progressed and they went through these things and their characters evolved and changed, they were still their characters, which I liked. They didn't go to such an extreme that you're like, you didn't even have the same... Like, you might as well have cast a different actor at the end. They changed so much. Mm-hmm. You know, I think he had a line in the very beginning, and I think it's, mornings are for coffee and contemplation. And, like, even at the end when he, you know, went through all this shit and he like, kind of came out of the bullshit and he dealt with his own demons or whatever, I still feel like he's going to go into work the next day, and that morning he's still going to need coffee and contemplation. Like, he's still going to need to, like, sit some things out, and then he can start his day later on, sometime around 11, you know? So, yeah, the characters evolved well, but stayed true to themselves. Yeah.
And those kids were determined to save their damn friend.
You know what? I don't know when we're going to get to it, so I'm just going to bring it up now, but their honor code and their, like, pact that they had with each other was, like, I mean, looking back, my friends and I didn't quite have, like, they did. Like, we didn't have a rule book written out, but there was stuff that we understood. Yeah. And I loved their whole thing about, like, you drew first blood. You need to man up and apologize and offer your hand, and then we'll deal with this. You
shake first. No, I'm not shaking first. Like, you're gonna be stubborn for a little while, but you're gonna come around.
Yeah,
which makes me.
And it was so, like, kitschy. I don't know if that's right. Where you're just like, what, really? But then I started thinking about it. I was like, no, I know we had some level of code among my friends and I. We just, and, you know,
the fact that, like, it was like an understanding between all of them. It's clearly not the first time that these kids have fought. You know, like,
and you fight with your best friends when you're a kid all the time over the stupidest crap.
Literally the stupidest, the stupidest crap, and it's just like we're in a fight, and we're fighting right now, and then it's like a big
war.
thing, and like it keeps you can't sleep because your friends are mad, and you're mad at your friends. I hate being in arguments with people. I absolutely hate it. Gives me the worst anxiety.
Their pact made me want to be a better person.
And they're like 10.
I know, and fictional.
Imagine like how much they have.
I was like, man, next time that I feel like I'm a dick, I'm a man up and I'm gonna offer my hand. Be like, no, I drew first blood. Let's get over this.
Yep. I think a lot of people probably could have been saved, but they're a cool group. Like every one of the kids, because there are a lot of kids in the show. It's mainly run by the kids. Like they have more talent in their little like 10-year-old bodies than I will ever have. They were all they were fantastic. Like. They wanted to save their friend. They had to deal with the fucking with bullies, and they had to deal with it was good shit.
Fantastic way to deal with the bully too.
Make him piss his pants,
break his arm.
Oh man! And like they were the kid was they were gonna kill him.
Yeah,
he was gonna kill those kids.
Yeah.
The 80s were only thing I had to worry about was making sure that awkward kid didn't sit with me on the bus.
Oh, if you're friends with them once, it's
Yeah.
you're stuck.
There was
forever.
one guy, and he was like 2 grades above me.
Yeah.
And every single day, can I sit with you? Whatever, dude. It's just, but like my stop was always before his, so I was always on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to do the scooch and get it, dude. You must know where my stop is by now, but you don't get out of the way.
Huh.
Anyways,
Yo, man, just offer a hand. Just
no,
just shake
I'm
on
not
it.
gonna.
Just shake on it. Do you have to fight first? Is that... Anyway. What's next?
What are we getting to next? Like, I just want, like, 11. She was incredible.
I'm guilty of not knowing she was a girl for the first, 2 episodes she was on.
That's okay.
It's a kid with short hair. Must be a boy, right?
Yeah.
That's where you need to get rid of your gender biases, Alex.
I couldn't tell by the... Look, children have the same faces. There's not much... I don't look at kids that much.
Have you guys seen?
I just don't.
Have you guys seen the video of the actress getting her head shaved for the role?
No.
There's a video that she posted on her Twitter of her like when they shaved her head for the role, and like she had long hair. She had like past shoulder length hair, I think.
I heard it was pretty like upsetting to her, and like she still had to do it.
Yeah.
But I had heard that they showed her a picture of Charlize Theron from
Mad Max. Yeah.
And they were like, look at how badass she is. And that was like what tipped her over and was like, okay, I'll do it.
Yep. It's a cool video. It's like it's all time lapse. Like at the end, she does like the 11 stare, and it's just like, oh yeah, you haven't even started filming yet, and you know how to do it.
It's that stare that got you hired in the casting room.
There's a thing on the internet because I've read a few things here and there about the show, and before they filmed
fan fiction.
Yeah, no, not that. No, what?
It's out there.
That's what I've wrote. So.
It's oh, yep. There we go.
What?
There we go.
You went to.
Okay.
They team up with He-Man. It's great.
He wrote an entire D&D fan fiction campaign.
But the actress Millie
Bobby Brown,
she was doing something else, and like Stephen King had said, she's going to go places, and so like that being one of the recommendations was like, yeah, we want to hire her, book it.
Stephen King was one of like the first people that I saw on Twitter talking about Stranger Things, and was like, "Yo, Stranger Things is rad. Check it out." So I was like, Stephen King. Aside when you talk about the Red Sox, I like everything you talk about.
So we can continue to gush about everything that we love, like the rest of the internet.
Right.
Or we can talk about some theories.
Okay.
Let's hear theories. It sounds like you have some, Will.
I do. And this is how I interpreted what the show was about. And how I was officially like in love with it, and how it was an awesome show. It was a cool show. It was sci-fi. It was spooky. It had some monster stuff. It seemed very like a love letter to the 80s cinema I liked, and even like Twin Peaks feeling and X-Files, and it was great, and I loved it for all that. But what set it aside as something that I want to like own, and I want to watch, and I want to support, was my interpretation of what the Upside Down was, and the what the Demogorgon is, and all of that. And my take on it is that the whole thing is alliteration the right word? I think so.
Allegory?
Allegory, maybe?
Alliteration
allegory.
is like V for Vendetta.
Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Right. No, that's wrong. Allegory. Is an allegory for dealing with cancer.
Really?
That's what I got out of it. You have in my mind, Will got cancer. And that night he went to the hospital, and he had cancer.
Mm-hmm.
He was a child with cancer, and this mother couldn't cope with that. She couldn't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And her entire world got turned upside down.
Okay.
And that's what all of this is. And it was like the monster itself was like a cancerous tumor.
Okay.
That's what I got out of the whole show. Like everybody, and the fact that it was affecting other people. If you suddenly have someone who is in your life and they're like affected by that, and so, people ask you how you are or what they try to relate to you by telling you about someone in their life that has been sick, or it's just human nature. We just do it. Like, oh, so-and-so has, my aunt had it, or my friend just went through that, and we try to relate. And so now we see all these other people that in our lives have been affected by it, and these are the other people that are getting affected in the show. And then when we're going through that, even though it's meant as comfort, you don't give a shit. Like, it's not, that was your life, this is mine, I'm trying to deal with this and cope with this, and nobody's understanding me right now. And as much as it's all good intentions in that intense moment, yeah, you don't understand anything, and nobody, it sounds like nobody's listening to you, which is more of what I took from the mother. And even like the communication on the phone, when you try to call the hospital and you can't get through, or it's not the right hours or something, it's like your phone just blew up in your hands. And the whole thing with the sheriff's daughter, that felt like it to me. And then I started to think about like different types of treatment, how there's people who can afford it and people who can't, and people who will do weird experimental treatments, and people who just kind of let it go. And then there's people who have just straight up lost people from it because they couldn't, get the right treatments or whatever. And so this whole thing just like, it was somewhere about the second to last episode or something, I had this sort of feeling, and then it got really heavy for me. And then as soon as like the credits rolled on the last episode, I was just like, this is everything that I've personally dealt with. This is how, like, this explains it for me. How my life has sort of felt turned upside down, and like I haven't wanted to like deal with certain things, or I felt like I couldn't talk to people about things because they didn't understand, and all of this. And then I was thinking about it just from my own personal experiences, and had I been younger when I went through stuff like this, as a kid, it would have been like a monster coming and taking one of my friends or one of my family members, and it just seeps into your house. Like, you don't even know how it got there. It's just suddenly there, So that was what it was for me, and it just blew my mind. And not only did I love everything about the entertainment value of the show, but that was my take on it. And whether it's right or wrong or what they actually intended, I don't care, because that's what I got out of it. And it just elevated the entire show to such a higher level that like blew me out of the water. So that's kind of what I have to say.
Have you seen my friend Barb? Oh, she got cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's kind of, It's just, she was,
and like,
poor Barb, though.
Like, so the kids, they could have gone to visit their friend in the hospital, and they could have met Elle as another patient.
Yeah.
She was just there, and like they made a new friend, somebody else who they saw in the room next door, the bed next door, or who knows. And this adventure in this like world expands, she was probably, going through the more experimental stuff, hydrotherapy, who knows? I don't know. But kind of dealing with it and coping with it in different ways, and all of that. And like other people getting involved and showing up at your door with a casserole, and you're like, that's not going to cut it.
That's the last thing I need.
Yeah.
If it was brownies, we could talk, but a casserole, come on.
One thing that kind of, as you were explaining or talking about that, and this is not a theory, because I'm not smart enough to come up with theories. I take everything at face value, and I'm like, well, obviously there's just a monster, and there's another dimension. Duh! Like, I can't. I'm really bad at seeing like another side of stuff.
Yeah.
It just doesn't click in my mind, or rather, coming up with it. Like once someone explains it to me, then I can be like, oh, okay, 2 roads divided by you can only go down one road, no matter what. You can, Robert Frost, by the way.
I was going to try and No. like when I was trying to explain how the Flash came back in time to talk to Batman, and you're like, I don't get it.
Right.
Because he was warning about Superman. Why? Because he was right. I don't get it.
Batman fights criminals. But did they ever in the first episode when Will disappeared?
Yeah.
What he just poofed.
Yeah.
Like
so,
and the other time you needed like one of the portals.
Right, but there's also that time when the portal closed up.
Right, but no one just poofed.
Well, he got yanked.
Did he?
Yeah.
I feel like he poofed though.
Because when the sheriff went in there, like he find like a passage?
I think there was some
shit. Did he? I can't remember.
Like dirty spot or something.
Right.
And the sheriff just couldn't.
Yeah.
Like, whoa, this is weird.
Okay, so maybe it's less of a poof and more of a yank.
Yeah.
Okay. Never mind. Question. Back to actual like things that make sense.
Because we didn't see what happened to that first scientist either. He just kind of the door's closed and he's gone.
Although I will say the when they sent the Merc through and just like the rib cage came back, like that was intense.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I'm not going in there. Why would you go inside of a giant wall vagina anyways is beyond me. But
because you're being paid to.
It just shows how strong it's true. Or like you're being forced to by Matthew Modine. Who did you see he tweeted to Millie Bobby Brown and he was like, I know a thing or two about getting my head shaved too. Because he had to have his head shaved for Full Metal Jacket.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Oh,
he was Joker in Full Metal Jacket.
Oh.
And like the opening intro of Full Metal Jacket is all the kids getting their head shaved. But shit, where was I going with that? It's gone. Oh yeah, I was going to say like how strong. Because like at first, like when 11 just like makes something levitate, she's like, "Oh my god, I'm exhausted." But then like she has the ability to literally rip open like space time, like if she tries hard enough. And that was just out of fear.
Mm-hmm.
Like when she gets pissed,
then
she's snapping necks. Oh my god, she's so bad.
Flipping vans and shit.
Oh my god! Like while on the back of was she on the back of the bike then?
Yeah.
When she flipped the van? Yeah.
So I saw a theory that was talking about how it's all based on 11 and how the monster is her.
Mm-hmm.
Because when she first encounters it, there's nothing. It's just blackness. And there's the thing. And then she touches it and makes contact. So like someone was saying she's inside of her own consciousness. And so this monster is like inside of her. And like making that contact is what let it out, and then like what made the wall vagina and what made the upside down.
I'm glad wall vagina is sticking.
That's sticking now. There it is. And so,
sticky wall vagina.
You try to open it and it just closes back up again.
Oh,
anyway,
okay.
And so,
okay.
and there's more jokes I want to make, but I'm not gonna.
Fair.
I'm stuck.
Where were you going?
So, and there's a lot of comparisons between the purpose of what the monster was doing and what 11 was doing. And one thing they didn't explain was like, well, if the monster's like kidnapping people for some reason, like to try and reproduce or whatever,
right?
Then what's 11's purpose? And I was like, she was making friends. She was trying to make new friends the whole time and like make allies instead of just trying to grow them like a face hugger or something.
Yeah.
And so they had pointed out, like, if you watch that last scene of her and the monster, they're both raising the same arm before they both explode. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert. We mentioned that.
We did mention the spoiler alerts.
But before I got to that, as I was watching it, and like, so when you're introduced to all these characters, right? And you have all these people that you're going to identify with, and you're fans of the sheriff and the son and the younger kids, and like you want them to be victorious. And then you meet like, you know, this ex machina character who like can show up and magically do amazing stuff. To me, sometimes it becomes almost a cop-out to have that angelic hero be the one that finally solves the problem.
Right.
Like, you're rooting for them, and you know they're the one that has the power to do it. But to some extent, you want the rest of the cast to achieve it themselves. You know? And so I think I might have been one of the only people to watch... What was the Stephen King book movie with Duddits, the two aliens?
Don't know.
One of them can like inhabit people's bodies, and
Colin probably knows. He's probably going insane right now.
And the one named Duddits was like a special needs dude, and he gave his friends powers and shit. But it was ultimately him that defeated the other alien,
right?
And it's like
we could have done that all along.
And it's like I really wanted everyone else to get involved more somehow. You know, like I really thought the son with teenage girl were gonna do it in the house with the bear trap and the fire and the spiked bat.
I mean, they fucked it up. Like
they did more damage with a spiked bat and like a bear trap than like, you know, a squad of dude with guns. They didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, like they got torn to shreds, and like these two teenagers with like a well laid plan.
Yeah,
3 teenagers by the end of it, but like they messed it up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like they maybe contributed to its downfall. Like maybe like
I wouldn't have put it out. I'd let it burn for a while longer.
If it had been like at full power, like when it confronted everyone at the end, like would it have just been like unbeatable?
Right.
You know, one thing that I imagine may have bothered.
Did it get weaker as 11 got stronger?
Didn't think about that.
Yeah. Anyway.
Sub question, which kind of goes into my... Because there's a lot of stuff that comes along with the show that's unanswered.
Mm.
Like, 11, is that like a relation to how many there were previous? Is she like test subject number 11?
Oh, yeah.
Were there more than like, are there 10 others like who just failed or are dead or are like she just happens to be the strongest? Like also,
or this kid goes to 11.
She cranks it.
But 10's fine.
but she goes to 11.
Wait, 11. So that means the experiment before her in Roman numerals has claws and has a healing factor. It's Weapon X.
Weapon X.
Weapon X.
You're welcome.
I got you.
Yep.
You're welcome, he says. But like those types of questions, like, you know, obviously there's the stuff at the end, which I imagine will be answered soon, like with the Eggos in the end, and then Will coughing up the slug.
How would he not tell anyone about that?
How do you not even?
I would have freaked out and be like,
to me, that was just remission. And he's afraid he doesn't want to go back to the hospital. That was my take on it. Once I was like, this is cancer. He just went into remission, and he doesn't want to go through that shit again. So he's not telling anybody.
Right.
And like, to me, the waffles in the woods was just his way of like coping. Like he needs that little bit of hope or something.
Right.
And so to me, it was just, I'm almost sad that there's going to be a second season. I mean, I'm going to watch it, and I'm hopefully going to love it as much as I did, and that I will, you know, eat these words right now. But for me, that was like a full thing, and the questions that were unanswered, I'm totally okay with. But
that's essentially what I was getting at. Like, do you even need those questions, or like, was it just so good it doesn't even matter? Like, I don't care if there were kids before 11. I don't really need to know. Oh, her name. Why is her name 11? Whatever.
I'm interested.
Right.
But like, we've gotten to a point. Let me try and word this. There's certain things where like I do want to know every single thing I possibly can. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, like, I've been introduced to a few things that have softened that blow. So like, when you watch Shaun of the Dead, they never explain how the zombie outbreak happens.
Yeah, it just happens.
It's, you know, and like they they even tease you with it because it's on the news, and they change the channel.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, a new outbreak, click, and it's, you know,
eaten alive.
And it's, you know, and like the fact that I'm getting played, I was like, I'm going to accept it and move on because it's a good movie. And so with that, like, to an extent, I want to accept what's happening in front of me. And if I don't have the option to learn more, then I'll just sit here and deal with it. But I would like to know. Yeah.
I kind of feel. Oh, go ahead.
I'm worried that it's what will end up happening is if I know too much, then it will diminish what I saw in the first season. It's like when they try to do a prequel to a horror movie and they ruin it by going into the background of the murderer. And you're like when they try to give you more than what the original Halloween had, when Rob Zombie was like, yeah, but he came from a broken home. No, he was way fucking scarier just being your normal suburbanite kid who just decided to kill his sister one day. Like, that's more terrifying to me, that this normal kid from a normal home just snapped. Than, oh, he had like oh, no, I don't care. You ruined it. It's not scary anymore. So
he liked masks his whole life. See, get it?
Yeah. And I don't need that. And they do it so often, and like I'm almost worried that if season 2 tries to answer too much of what happened before, I don't think I'll like it at all. I hope I'm wrong, but I don't think I would want it. I think I just want to get a progression. I would almost wish this was kind of like a pulp series or something, where Stranger Things is just a completely different thing.
Yeah,
it's just some other story.
It's a new chapter of a different something happening.
Yep. Another short story about completely different characters and a different type of monster or a different type of thing, and it's just done by the same group of people.
Right.
Because I could watch season after season of this homage to those movies. Like, I'd be fine with that.
But would that be too much like American Horror Story?
I have never watched any American Horror Story.
So American Horror Story,
I get the premise, yeah.
It's like the same cast gets involved in different things. So like you'll have the haunted house. They do a whole season of a haunted house. But then like the same cast will be in a like a different era and a different time. And this one's about an asylum, and then this one's about a freak show. And so like once in a while there'll be some kind of crossover that manages to connect them, but it's using like different tropes and different histories and different horror storytellings as each season, and so I think Stranger Things wouldn't want to copy that because they have too much going for it with faithful homages and not having to follow an established pattern.
Well, I guess that I would say that I don't want them... I would want them to not necessarily... Like, I don't want them to try to do an homage to 90s horror and then an homage to 70s.
Right.
But if they were to stay in this same vein and just tell me a different short story that takes place in that vein, I think that would be a bit different than what American Horror Story does. And if there's nothing that connects them at all, even better. It would just be like... a new story from an author we love, or I'd be fine with that.
A different Stranger Thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess as much as we've been saying like, oh, what about the other 10 kids, and like, well, we want answers to our questions, they might get thrown into a new thing they have to deal with that we won't get those answers. We'll have more questions.
Which everyone loves, especially the internet.
So much speculating.
What do you think they could even do with it? Like, would it be believable to put these kids into another traumatic experience?
Oh, the Upside Down is there's another monster in there.
It's the downside up.
Yeah.
11's back, and she what's the next D&D monster?
Right?
Oop, it's Bahamut. Guess we're fighting a dragon.
But like, I don't know. I have no concept. Granted, I had no concept of the show when I went into it, and I, fell head over heels with it.
Right.
But I just don't know what else they could do with these characters that I'd really want to watch. Unless it's, nope, this is Christmas, and they open some presents, and, then they have a New Year's party, and there's some drama in the high school, and, like, that's it. They just live the rest of their lives.
Would you be I guess we kind of touched on it earlier. Would you be content with just this one? If they never even touched on it again, even though they kind of hinted with like the slug at the end, Stranger Things is over. It's just a one season.
I'd be totally content.
I mean, that's fair.
I mean, I always, whenever I put some kind of performance together or a presentation together, I always go with the entertainment ideal of always leaving them wanting more.
Mm-hmm.
And I try to never go back to it. Like I've done presentations and I've done sketches and I've done things and I have plenty of ideas for follow-ups to it, but I don't want to try and follow it up because I won't top it. And, you know, even we have a awards show at work and they didn't really have much. It used to just be dinner and an awards thing, and I tried to add a show aspect to it last year. And this year they were like, "Are you going to do that part again? Are you going to do that bit again?" It was so funny. And I was like, "No, I'm never going to do that again." Because it was funny. And if I do it again, it's not going to be funny again.
Oh, you did the same thing.
Yeah, but what
was
if
that moment and it's over? And so there are certainly stories that, you know, I want them to make Jason movies until I'm not alive anymore, because I want to just keep watching Jason movies. And I want them to go on. I don't care if they're good. I don't care if they're bad. I just want more Jason movies. But with Stranger Things, it's like, yes, I absolutely want more. Give me more. But you're risking it. I've wanted more X-Files for a long time. I've wanted something to make up for everything after season 6. And I got it. And I wasn't too happy. You know? So, yes, I want more. Absolutely. Do I think they should ever really give me more? Probably not. But I'm going to take it. And I'm going to hope that it's going to be awesome. But to answer your question shortly, yes, I'm content with them just leaving it as it is. And it may also be my interpretation of the whole show, that's what it is, and life goes on. So, yeah.
Its popularity didn't take long for it to branch out and show up in a bunch of other stuff. Because, like, over the summer, there was grown men that happened to have really short haircuts cosplaying as 11.
Yeah.
And there was couples cosplaying as the Wall and the mom.
Yep.
So like a dude would be wearing a shirt with a similar pattern to what the wallpaper was, with lights on. And some people just had like a flat panel that had like stretchy hands through. Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I don't know how I would react if I saw stretchy hands going through my wall.
Yeah, no thanks. Nope.
That's Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me. That's always gotten me. I've always wanted to recreate that in my haunted houses.
I was particularly surprised at how long it took for like the kids were on Fallon a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And like this, you know, the guy who's playing Luke Cage was on last night. Like Luke Cage just came out, and I think he was on like Colbert or something last night, or Conan. I think it was Conan. Whereas like the kids from Stranger Things, like they did the Stranger Strings, and like Millie Bobby Brown did the Nicki Minaj rap, which was like, holy shit! She's not just like a creepy psychotic or psionic girl. And that was a couple months, I think, after the show came out, and then like they were on the
Oscars,
Emmys. It was the Emmys.
Yeah. Oscars is movies. Silly.
They're on the Emmys, and then a bunch of celebrities were pissed off because like they thought it was like inappropriate for the kids to be handing out
poison,
the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and stuff, you know, like on the bikes,
which could, because so many people are allergic to peanuts.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one thing if you have a peanut allergy, but you also know not to eat it. You know not to put it in your face. You know, like it's pretty standard. Oh shit, is this PB&J? I guess I'm not good. Even then, like, would you have eaten it? Even if, like, I don't really like to eat food made by other people. Like, you know, here's like a mushy PB&J like crammed in a sandwich bag. It's really warm too.
I'm gonna eat anything Jimmy Kimmel's mom makes.
I mean that's valid.
So,
but But like I'm glad, and I'm also hoping. I don't want any like Corey Feldman's, River Phoenix's.
Oh yeah.
Lindsay Lohan's.
Yeah.
You know, I want all of these kids to be amazing.
They deserve a gracious and pleasant rise to adulthood.
Yeah. Yep.
I was talking about this a while ago with someone else, and I was like, have there been like successful child stars that have grown up not to be train wrecks?
Neil Patrick Harris.
Well, he was already like a teenager.
He was pretty young on Doogie Howser, though.
He was, yeah.
Ron Howard.
Oh yeah.
Some of the best like recent examples we came up with was the Harry Potter kids.
Yep.
But that's because they're British.
Right.
They're not Americans. So
And they very well could be train wrecks. It's just not publicized because they're British, and you just stay quiet about those things.
Even God, who plays Harry? What's his fucking name?
Daniel Radcliffe.
Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah,
like he just
Elijah Wood.
Yeah, not Elijah Wood. He just sits there and trolls paparazzi.
Yeah.
I love it.
Oh, it's great.
It's brilliant.
It
He could be like, oh yeah, you know, come let me talk shit and like say a racist slur accidentally, and then it's but no, I'm gonna have fun with you guys because you guys are really annoying, and I'm gonna wear the same outfit every day.
Yep.
So like you're just handing in the same pictures every day.
That was fantastic.
Yep. It's just brilliant.
But like we haven't seen as much from the rest of the cast. So like everyone wants to hang out with the kids and see the kids.
Yeah.
From straight, but it's like I haven't seen anyone talk to the sheriff.
He was in Suicide Squad. He was.
Which one was he?
Mm-hmm.
Which?
He was one of like the Secret Service guys. Like there's Amanda Waller.
Yeah.
And like second in command. That was him.
So not speaking part.
He had like 2 lines. Yeah. He showed up though. I was like, oh hey. Yep, you probably did this before Stranger Things.
Way before.
Yeah, I thought he was awesome. The thing is, I can't name him.
Mm-hmm.
If during the show, I probably could have. I can't name any of the kids besides Millie Bobby Brown.
Mm-hmm.
I follow her on Twitter. I don't know if the others are even on Twitter. You know,
What's been fun is that the kid with the mouth thing,
the teeth thing.
yeah, the teeth thing.
Yep.
When someone recognizes him and he's like, "Let's take a picture," and so now like there's all these pictures of him like with fans, and it's him being like, "You want a picture? Let's take a picture." It's like I can do this thing. He was on the Blacklist.
Really?
Yeah, the series of Blacklist. He
Like
was
recently?
He was on season 1 with James Spader.
With Spader, with
yeah.
Ultron.
Yeah,
That was a couple years ago.
exactly.
Yeah.
So he's been working at it.
Good on him.
I could tell it was him because he talks funny.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great show, though. Where are we on time?
53.
Look at that. It's like perfect timing almost to run out of things to say.
It is. I have so many other horror-based TV shows I want to talk about.
Like
What
how
else
good-
are you watching?
Like how good Scream was? How good was Scream, the TV show?
You ruined it.
I'm even debating watching the second season. It had moments.
There's
there were
gonna
things
be a
I liked.
second?
It wasn't great. But at the same time, I had just watched this show called Slasher, and it made me vehemently angry. Like I was foaming at the mouth and screaming at my TV because it was so awful.
Slasher was awful.
Yeah, I think it's on Netflix. Don't even waste your time. It's
Okay.
fucking garbage. I was angry. Somebody I work with told me to check it out.
Yeah.
So I did, and I was like angry texting her the whole time. And she totally regretted ever telling me to watch this show because I was like, what is this about? What is this? And I was sending her photos and like pausing it at major glaring errors. And
This
being
is
like,
what you
in
get.
this frame, the photo looks like this. And in this frame, it's a completely different picture. Within 2 seconds, the picture just magically changed. There were just so many things wrong with it. I was so angry. So Slasher was garbage. But I also I wanted to gush about Westworld. I've seen like 10 minutes of the new Westworld remake, and I loved the movie when I was young.
Will at length told me about the first one.
Huh?
You told me at length about the movie. in the
Yeah,
past.
the movie. It was one of the coolest things ever. So I'm really excited about the show, and I'm hoping that it's really awesome. And then Walking Dead got me back in season 5, and they kept me because after season 1, it just kept going downhill for me.
Uh-huh.
And then season 5 got me back, and I'm like, I'm going to go out and buy season 5 and 6 and just pretend the 2 through 4 never happened to me. But so yeah, there's lots of good horror TV on lately, and then a lot of good efforts. You didn't get it, but good effort.
You try.
And then slasher, you can just go and fuck off. The best thing about slasher is the host of Chopped Canada is in it.
What?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the best thing to look forward to.
Yeah. That show is garbage.
So, last week's guest, we were talking about like how he grew up loving horror movies and everything, and we talked about a lot of like haunt life stuff. But one of the things I wanted to mention then, that I'm going to mention now, was how different it is for people growing up like, 10, 20 years ago compared to people growing up now. Because I feel like the same quality or type of horror movie isn't the same. Because like the way Jason and Mike Myers were effective and Freddy Krueger was an amazing thing at the time. Like now it's like, what, we have our 7th Saw movie or something, and yeah. And how much things are designed purposely for sequels. There's Conjuring 2, and I'm sure they have scripted up to Conjuring 5 and things like that. And whereas, I don't think all these sequels are planned at the first Friday the 13th.
No, they were mostly just young filmmakers who wanted to have a go at something, and horror is one of the easier genres if you just want to
get a
practice,
reaction.
Film work.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, I got to figure out how a camera works and how lighting's going to work and how I can tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people just use horror because it's easy to experiment and try a lot of new things. And so it's almost a portal or a door to it. And then if you get lucky and you end up being one of those good ones that can make good, solid horror that really works, then you end up staying in that genre. But I mean, there are people who say like, nope, I am in this business to make horror movies. And then there's others who they do that sort of almost experimental, and it's easier and cheaper, and that it'll make some money, so you can do your next art house project or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think, Wes Craven just had a story he wanted to tell, and that was it. And then the studios were like, we want you to tell more of this story. And Cunningham and all them on Jason, then I imagine they were just like, nope, we're just going to make this movie, and it's going to be this, and whatever. Raimi and Campbell, same. They wanted to make a movie. They kind of had been doing some bad horror already in their garage or whatever, but yeah.
Heck, they made it twice.
Yeah. We can do it better. That's another one. I just picked up, I'm halfway through Ash vs. the Evil Dead, and that's entertaining the crap out of me. So, yeah. It's a good time for horror TV, because at least there's options.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So,
like many of them.
Yeah.
Like as compared to, what, like 2 years ago when there was like American Horror Story and that was it?
Yeah.
And Walking Dead.
Do you even classify Walking Dead as horror?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, in the basic sense of the premise, it's zombies and it's blood, and
right.
What makes it better horror is that there's character development, and there's actually, social commentary and story, and even if you're not into that, at least the stories they're telling are solid enough that you stay into it.
Right.
The original Night of the Living Dead is a comment on racism at the time. And you can watch it and you can take that, or you can just watch it and be entertained by zombies eating brains. And for whatever you take out of it, you get something. Either it's just entertainment or it's this big comment. Dawn of the Dead was commercialism. That's why they are held up in a mall. And when you die, what do? You walk to the mall. So they all, zombies are easy use for social commentary, and sure, The Walking Dead's got a lot of that going on in it. But sometimes I just like watching them stab zombies in the brain over and over and over again.
Comparatively, I have felt maybe a fraction of the suspense that I felt while watching Stranger Things. Because there was definitely moments in Stranger Things where I was like my fists were clenched and like I was leaning forward and like my jaw was open, like what's gonna happen? Is it there? Is it there? Is it gonna get him? Is it gonna and freaking out, like waiting for the thing to happen.
Whereas, I had to put a drink down at one point.
Whereas like Walking Dead, it's like either the zombie will bite him or they'll kill the zombie. Either the bad guy will shoot the good guy or the good guy will shoot the bad. Whatever.
Yeah, it's. Walking Dead has almost become my, I'm just going to zone out. I'm not going to expect much. Maybe that's why I'm doing better with season 5 and 6. Because my expectation just went straight into the ground. But what they were doing with the characters got me through it a bit more. And I was like, oh, I'm actually liking this story. I want to watch the next one. Where 2 through 4, it was a struggle. I was like, oh, I could watch it or I could go do anything else. So
literally anything.
I do believe there was a point where I pushed the popcorn bowl away from myself for Stranger Things. It's like I need to stop eating something for a second because I need to pay attention.
And I admit when I'm watching stuff, I'll be watching a movie or I'll be watching something and be like, who is that actor? It's driving me crazy. And I'll just take my phone out and IMDb while I'm watching.
Yeah.
And then I'll start reading about their other movies, and I'll start reading about upcoming projects, and the movie's still happening. Stranger Things, my phone was in another room. I had to write mental notes in my head to be like, go look up this thing. Just leave it alone right now, but go look it up later. It's going to kill you, but don't pause this. So
it was just a good, and it's also it's to the point where you don't even need cable.
Yeah.
To see a lot of the stuff that a lot of people are talking about. You just need a $9.99 a month subscription to Netflix and something to stream it on, which a lot of TVs come with it built in now.
Mm-hmm.
Even Daredevil, Luke Cage, which just started. That's the thing everyone's talking about now. Everyone's going crazy for Luke Cage. It's Netflix, it is for me. I mean, I haven't had cable since I moved in with my wife, because she never watched TV, so cable was just what's the point of paying for it if I'm not gonna?
Yep.
And I quickly adapted to that with just a Netflix and eventually Hulu subscription. I have everything I need.
Since I moved out here, we had Netflix and Amazon Prime,
right?
And I got by. I had plenty. And then there were still shows that I wanted to see that aren't on those. And I was like, well, we'll get cable because, if I bundle it with the internet, I can get a slightly better deal or whatever. And lately, it's been infuriating. I want BBC America so that I can watch all the British shows that I love. Mm-hmm. And they stream Star Trek The Next Generation 20 hours out of the day. And while I love Star Trek and Star Trek The Next Generation, it's not what I'm paying to have that channel for.
You can watch that on Netflix.
Insane. Yeah. And so it's Next Generation, and then when it's different, it's something else that's American and available everywhere and crap for an entire month. If it wasn't Star Trek, it was the movie Air Force One. And I don't understand it. Why is this happening on BBC America?
They probably got the rights real cheap.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be you streaming me shows from your network that I can watch. I haven't seen one episode rerun of Graham Norton. They've barely run any Doctor Who anymore. Nothing. I can't even get British news, and it's infuriating. I don't know why that channel exists.
At least since you have Amazon Prime or whatever it is, you'll be able to watch the Grand Tour.
I know. And I don't know when that's starting, but they're already bigger than,
I think it's
half
soon.
The stuff out there. It's got to be, but because they're doing their tour now. And
they're starting to do talk shows and stuff.
Yeah, I am so excited. But I kind of wondered if I asked Hannah the other day, I was like, do you think them firing Jeremy Clarkson was like the beginning of this downward spiral of the BBC? Because they're really in trouble lately. And she was like, no, I think it's been going on for a long time. And then I said, yeah, probably since the 60s.
Yeah. So. I mean, Top Gear used to draw like 17 million people every week. Like, yeah. It's insanity.
And then the new incarnation of it just bombed. I haven't even been able to watch a full episode, and they've already fired and recast and done all these things to try and salvage this ship that already sank. And
well, Matt LeBlanc came out and he's like, I'm not going to do this season another season unless Chris Evans is gone.
Yeah.
And then Chris Evans quit, and now even LeBlanc is like, yeah, I don't know if I'll come back. Like, I think
he expected Evans to not push, and then he could bail, and it wouldn't be anything to do with him.
Right.
And then Evans would just drive this into the ground, and now he's looking around like, uh-oh. I had seen somewhere else. There's this British baking show, which I love, British baking competition show that, if you like cooking shows and you like British things, check it out.
Right.
Hannah and I love it. We race home to watch it. It's on PBS. Anyway, one of the judges on that, his name is Paul Hollywood, and he's like this asshole British baker, but he's still very British and polite about it. He might be the next Top Gear host, and that's where I know you just don't have your shit anymore.
Yeah.
You got that guy from the baking show. He likes cars, throw him on? No, that's not how this works.
He's supposed to be a guest.
Yeah.
And you put him in a reasonably priced car.
Yeah.
But the only reason I would ever even consider possibly, maybe ever signing up for Amazon Prime would just to be to watch that one show, because I was crushed when they announced that they were going to Amazon. I was like, oh, okay, Netflix will get them. It's going to be great. Like, who could possibly offer more money than Netflix? Oh, shit. Mm. So that was a pretty huge bummer.
I am excited to have it. I think we need to renew soon, and we're going to talk about if we do or not.
Right.
So if the format of the show works, I think we're definitely going to be renewing.
I think it'd be hard pressed for it not to work. They're just so good. I don't know. I don't even know what they're going to do. Like, if it's just them being goofy in cars, I loved that part. If it's them just reviewing cars, I also loved that part.
I know. Half the time I was like, I don't know what they're saying, but God, I love listening.
Just the way they can both be goofy as shit, but also like sometimes when they talk about cars, they would start crying. It was there was one episode where Clarkson was racing on a really famous track. I can't remember what one it was, and he was just so overwhelmed, he just started crying. He's like, "This is it's a huge deal for him." And when he told the story about the Porsche 92, I can't remember what it was, and it was because of that. If he didn't have that car in a car with that speed, he wouldn't have been able to see his father for the last time.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah, it's.
And the other thing too, they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
When they drive out in the desert and their car falls apart and they open up the hood, I don't expect it to just cut away and some road crew is going to come in and fix the car and they're going to be like, "All right, I did it." No, I really believe that they're picking up a tin can and MacGyvering their car back together because they know what they're doing.
They really do MacGyver it sometimes.
And it's so cool just to see them get through that. And the way they torture each other and oh yeah, we cracked his engine block in half in the middle of the desert, and he's going to die out here.
It's hilarious. Let's keep going.
Something out, and then you're like, ha ha ha! Oh wait, no, he really might die out there if they don't get he'll have to fail, and they just want him to admit that he failed, but then they still do it and they fix it, and you're like, I believe this.
Sounds like we need to have you back on for a Top Gear episode because we need to end, but I could keep going on that.
Yeah. Okay.
But what do we got? We got one more week of spoopiness, and then we transition into holiday, and then
no.
Anyways,
that was quick.
Will, you are sorely missed, and we greatly appreciate you making the time. I know because you're probably busy as shit with all your spookiness going on out there. Super fun times as always.
I needed this. So.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. Yeah, I guess that's going to do it. We're probably pretty over, right?
9.
It's not terrible, but anyways, tune in, I guess, next week for like the conclusion, if you want to call it, of the 2016 spoopy season. I don't know. I'm done. Anyways, so until then, until next week, I'm JR.
I'm Alex.
And I'm Will.
And this has been episode 240 of Opinions May Vary.